Football? Oh, no. What was I doing? Wake up, stupid. Wake up. No.
No, I want an officer red undercover knife so 200 where's my rifle?
You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
If you're listening to this while the house is finally quiet, or after a long, draining shift, or maybe you're on a drive where the radio just kind of felt a little too much tonight and you just need to take a breather, well, I'm really glad you're here. Christmas Eve has a funny way of doing that thing where it kind of slows everything down just enough for your thoughts to catch up to you. At least for me, it does. And for a lot of us, myself included, it's not always comfortable. It's reflective whether you like it or not. It's honest whether you like it or not. Sometimes it can be kind of heavy. So tonight isn't about resolutions. It's not about hustle and grind. It's not about becoming a brand new version of yourself by January 1st. Something that I never really believed in anyway. Tonight is about acknowledging the version of you that made it here right now. Because for a lot of people listening right now, well, this year asked more than a lot of us expected, honestly. So listen, Brightsiders, this is Braving the Brightside and Coffee Break, a Christmas Eve one at that. I'm really glad you're here. Let's dive in. I feel like I'm not way off course for some people out there when I say this year was a lot. It asked for patience when you were probably already tired. It asked for consistency when your schedule refused to cooperate. It certainly asks you to keep showing up, whether you like it or not, to work, to family, or arguably the hardest one, yourself, even when your energy was running on absolute fumes. For me, this was a year of piling things on my plate and then looking around and being like, I don't know if I can keep carrying this plate. It's a lot. Back in December of last year, I launched my horror comedy Patreon, and honestly, it was an absolute delight. Creating stories, building that little strange, kind of messed up universe, it lit me up in a way that reminded me why I love creating scenarios, creating universes, creating just things in the first place. And I say this next part with zero pride. I let it slip. Not because I stopped caring, but because I kept saying yes to more things without honestly creating space to sustain them. It was a hard lesson to learn. And it's kind of a lesson that I'm still learning. Passion still needs structure. So I'm excited to reboot the Patreon in January. Not from guilt, but from intention. Well, I'm not going to lie, there's a little bit of guilt there. This year also asked me to negotiate constantly with time, which has been exhausting, especially when it came to the gym. Trying to stay healthy, consistent, grounded, while work schedules and life schedules seem just to, actively hostile to routine. Some weeks I showed up strong. Some weeks I showed up incredibly tired. And some weeks I barely showed up at all. But here's the thing that I'm learning. I'm sure you've seen over and over again in other places. Consistency does not mean perfection. It means returning. So, if all you did this year was keep returning, whether it be to the gym, to healthier habits, to any kind of hobbies that you love, to the smallest moments in your life that you really held on to, that matters. And you should be proud of yourself. Despite everything this year asked for, there are a lot of things, it didn't take. One of the best things, hands down, for me, was I got a dog. After years and 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 years of wanting a dog, I finally got one. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this is probably easily one of the biggest highlights of my year. There's something incredibly grounding about a creature who doesn't care about your productivity, your calendar, or even your inner monologue. Just a dog that just wants you to be there, to be present for walks, routines, quiet moments, responsibility wrapped in joy. Reminding me to put my phone down, stop working or stop texting or stop checking socials, and just be in the moment with the dog. Because I have to remind myself, there was once a time where I was so desperate to get a dog that it's insane for me not to pay all the attention to him when I have those pockets of time where I can do it. So it's really made me enjoy the moment. I cannot and I will not mention my dog without shining a little bit of light on my ride or die, John Ralphio. He's another year older now. He's doing great. I mean, he's still very much himself, but yeah, he's just a touch slower than before. I still love him with all my heart, obviously, but if you've ever loved an animal deeply and have a connection with one, you know how quietly emotional that realization can be, right? Like it's not panic, it's not sadness, it's just like awareness. You know, there's a gratitude there when I look at him, mixed with a little bit of tenderness, that you can't help but remind yourself to be present as much as you can with your animals, because you can't really take it for granted. And my heart goes out to anybody this past year who's had to say goodbye to a furry friend. It's never easy losing that part of you. And that's why I try to take those moments in with my animals to really be present. It's tough sometimes, but especially when they're knocking a glass off the shelf and shattering it at 3 a.m., ripping me out of my sleep before I have to get up in a couple hours to open at work. But, you know, love is love, right? That's what Subaru says. Or Subaru's love. Love is Subaru. Love is whatever. I think I'm mixing it up with a Ja Rule lyric. Anyway, this year has taught me that strength doesn't always roar, right? Like there's a strength in being present with some of these animals that we have. Another thing this year gave me was some really incredible connections. People who continue to fuel me, inspire me, and remind me that I'm not doing this whole life thing alone. Whether it be coworkers continuing to support me and inspire me, or go out there and find podcast guests for me and recommend people towards me, to conversations I've had on the podcast that really stuck with me and just changed me for the better. You know, relationships across the board, my family, my friends, my wife, people that have continued to be patient with me as I kind of dive headfirst into a bunch of different things, specifically the podcast, to words of encouragement that I can't say enough about. This year was definitely a year of deepening relationships, deepening connections that I am forever humbled and grateful for as well. On the flip side of that, it's kind of impossible to talk about this year without acknowledging the noise, as I like to call it. It's a nonstop machine of divisiveness in this country, and it just kind of keeps going and going and going and taking and taking and taking. Politics, religion, skin color, opinions packaged as identities. Now, there's a distinct line that I hold near and dear to my heart on this show, that I don't get political, and I'm not planning on getting political at all here. Please know that. It has just drenched every facet of our society across the board, that unless something, you know, truly speaks to a tragedy or speaks to my heart in terms that it needs to be talked about, I am trying to my best to keep a sharp line of politics out of the podcast, a safe spot, a safe zone where the draining conversation of whose side are you on does not show up here at this door. Because it can make you feel like humanity is just shrinking, you know, especially if you look at the news, you look at on social media, you go on Instagram or the TikTok or MySpace, you know? But seriously, it can feel like the world is just constantly crumbling and scares you into just not wanting to leave your house. But I do want to gently remind you, especially tonight, that there is still humanity out there. You know, it's in the small moments that you don't see every single day or isn't celebrated every single day. You know, it's in It's in an everyday kindness in people who disagree and still choose decency, in conversations that don't go viral, don't have a camera on it. But, those conversations still matter, even though you're not seeing it or hearing it. So if this year left you feeling disillusioned, guarded, or just fucking exhausted by the nonstop noise, listen, you're not wrong for feeling that way. And it's okay. I mean, a lot of us do. But don't let the loudest voices convince you that compassion and empathy are gone. At times it may be quieter, for sure, but I promise you, it's still out there. As we land this thing tonight, I want to say this clearly. This felt like your hardest year. Please just take a moment to give yourself some flowers. And they are very, very pretty flowers. I want you to know that. Not because everything went right or because you stayed, but you adapted, you learned, you rested whenever you could, and you carried what you didn't choose. This life is a lot, all the time. Sometimes it seems like it gets more and more and more when all you want is less and less and less to worry about. So just remember, you don't need to rewrite yourself in January to prove your worth. You don't need a perfect plan tonight. Personally, I was never a big plan of new year, new me. That sounds unrealistic and honestly kind of crazy, because you should be bouncing off your previous year, building off that into something better, bigger, and more comfortable with you who you are. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is just say, you know what? I made it here, right here. I made it here. And that counts. Shit, yeah. That's what I want you to say to yourself tonight out loud. Shit, yeah. I made it here. Before I go, I do have one happy birthday message. Shout out to one Bonnie Loretta Kelly Bradley, or as she's known as my mom. Born on Christmas Day. So happy early birthday to my mom. Just wanted to throw that out there. I hope wherever you are tonight, I hope you feel a little steadier, a little more seen and a little less alone. Thank you for spending your night, your Christmas Eve, your holiday with me. It means the world to me. And as a thank you, I'm going to send you off with my favorite holiday song as we close out this episode. Until next time, keep braving it. One step, one sunrise, one honest conversation at a time. And from my heart to yours, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, and those who don't, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year, everybody. I'll see you next year. You take care.
There used to be a gray and tower alone on the sea.
absolute banger.